gave them rules not only of action, but for the government of the heart. Government of the heart. Oh, somebody didn't like your decision.
Oh, she just didn't like that I came in and then I left.
I was so impressed with them, by the way.
Yeah.
They went a long time.
Yeah.
Well, the movie's
An hour and a half. Oh.
for Amy and Noel. That's what's getting them covered.
You'll just have to read them. They're fabulous. But I really liked the way he went over the 10 Commandments. This is one of my favorites. For how is it that the whole system of government and administration, the municipal, political, ecclesiastical, military, and moral laws and institutions which bound in society the numberless myriads of human beings, who formed for many successive ages the stupendous monarchies of Africa and Asia, should have totally perished and been obliterated from the memory of mankind, while the loss of a paltry tribe of shepherds, characterized by Tacitus and by the sneering infidelity of Gibbon as the most despised portion of their slaves, should not only have survived the wreck of all those empires, but remained to this day rules of faith and practice to every enlightened nation of the world, and perishable only with it. Those silly shepherds are the ones that laws have affected the whole world. We all of our civil codes, at least in his time, he was saying the civil codes of the whole world practically are based on the law of Moses.
How many of you have seen the movie we just saw, T.C. Christensen's Ephraim's
Oh,
Rescue?
Ephraim's Rescue.
Have you seen it yet?
No, but I've.
You've got to see it. A couple of weeks ago,
Lindsay wants to see it.
T.C. Christensen came to the church office building for a noontime lecture and talked about that. And at the end, he talked about the idea of, so why does the Lord allow this kind of suffering? You know, why does he allow us to suffer and have pain? And he just asked that question. And so then, before he came to the final statement, he says he had everybody in the audience who was descended from somebody in one of those four parties or the rescuers to raise their hand. And probably a little over a quarter of the audience raised it. So, this is a church office building, of course. But then he proceeded to say every place he has ever gone and given this presentation, including some small little town back east, and that one had over a third of the people in the audience raise their hands. And so he said, suffering and pain and struggle is about early siblings. And if we look about the things we've been talking about, that proves true. Suffering, those kinds of sufferings affect our posterity. What happens when we have plenty and everything we want?
Nothing.
What happened to our parents who went through the 50s when everything just, after the war, there was a lot of production, and everybody was getting everything they wanted, taking care, and what happened to their kids? Everything's gradually going downhill. But when you look at where people have gone through suffering and struggle, what happens? The next generation is raised and is lifted for a period of time. I mean, it goes through cycles, but at least, and that's why it's there. Because that's what it takes to get our minds right.
It's true. And that was another one of my questions.
Yeah.
So that's another one of my questions. Where is it? Those in the East have developed stronger, deeper, and more interesting characters because of their suffering. So how do we do that for our children without hardship? What have you done with your families to prepare them for the future
You just had
and
a
not have
hardship.
them being soft?
You went that route.
I think you have to restrain. I
Kids
think
helped us with that.
you have to restrain yourself from giving to them. We have a desire to provide everything we can and to let them have all the experiences that life has to offer, blah, blah, blah. But I think if we can restrain ourselves from giving and say, oh, you would like to do that. Let's talk about how you can make that happen. and make it something that causes them to stretch. That's the other thing. It's hard for us as parents to watch suffering, right? Especially when our society is so materialistic and it's easy for us to believe, oh, I'm not doing it. I should be providing this for them. You know what I mean? I think it's all in being able to restrain ourselves without being compelled to do that.
Because we have the plenty, but we don't give the plenty. And I think too, I hear often,
Teach them how to
instead of saying we
produce
can't
their own
afford it, say how can we afford it? Sometimes you want to say we could afford it, but we're not going to.
We choose
Right.
not
Because
to.
do we need it? Do we really want it?
I learned that a long time ago, and I did hear general authority just recently say we need to learn to say to our children we cannot afford that. But I think a better way to say it would be we choose not. We choose
We're going to spend
not
our
to
money somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because you can
We choose
afford
not to
anything.
do that.
We have
If
to
that's where
choose
you
where we're
focus
gonna.
your efforts.
Yeah.
Well, and the way our economy is going, and again, this comes from all over, it looks like we're breaking down into, going into tribes again. That's where our culture's
Family,
going, and
yeah.
yes, and there has to be many factories, is what he calls
Yes.
them. Many factories.
Lots of
So if
industrial.
we voluntarily create that in our family, I think one of the best ways is to get them and get children involved with animals. I mean, big animals, like goats at least. I know a family lived up in Alpine, right in the neighborhood. They had some goats out back, and they had to learn how to help those goats give birth. And they had to go without things to help to take care of these animals, or go without time and privilege, all the fun things they want to do because they have responsibility. So I think that's a good way.
Help them learn sacrifice.
Yeah. So I just always apologized to my kids. I'm so sorry that I couldn't raise you on a farm. We tried to get there, but it kind of didn't end up that way. Because I just think that's real, and that's how we can keep them from becoming too entitled.
It's funny that
Yeah, I
that's
just
what
know that
happens.
the future does not look pretty for those who are soft, and so I think about that for my children. I don't want to be soft, and I don't want them to be soft. But in the world we live in, it's an easy place to be.
It's the desired place. Everybody desires.
Kind of soft, right?
That's why the church is so good. I mean, we don't sacrifice a lot, but we do have to sacrifice some. We really have to get over there and have to clean those toilets at the church. I do.
But even that is
Well,
completely
well,
voluntary.
yeah,
I
yeah.
usually sign up, and this time I just am not feeling great. And I said,
Come on.
I'm not signing up
Come
this
on.
time, and I was feeling. I thought, why doesn't everybody? If everybody would sign
Yeah.
just once
Well,
a year, if
and
everybody
yet-
would go once a
and yet
year,
we're
To be tougher and to get stronger.
Yes.
We got a mandate on Sunday night, from our prophet that no more knocking doors for the missionaries. So what are you gonna do? And that's gonna take some work. For me, I'm gonna have to be tougher, stronger at planning my time and overcoming shyness or whatever else might keep me from hurting people. So
I think
the church.
I think you're so right, because when we're baptized, we agree to serve, and we accept those callings in the church, and that is sacrifice. So I think we can't.
I do have to leave it.
Okay.
Salvation can't happen without sacrifice, right?
We gotta let Deanna.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, he
Present.
It's a whole big story, but that's my parents' new car that my sister bought for him, and she didn't tell anyone that it's a stick shift, and Matt did not know how to drive a stick shift until tonight. So while we're having this meeting, I get texts from my sister and from Matt saying, I just taught Matt how to drive, and I thought, oh my gosh.
I had to teach that.
And he made it. That's
So
what
he's fine. So I'm like,
all I wanted to
so that's my poor
It's
guy.
stuck in every life we took.
That's
I'm
awesome.
alive.
And you made it.
What
Yes.
kind of people do you work for that you're sitting here this time of the evening? No, I don't know if you were working or not, but
He was learning how to drive that car.
That's so awesome.
On the freeway, no less.
Well, once you're on
Well,
the
once you
freeway,
get into fifth,
Yeah.
you're just coasting along.
You don't have to worry about
It's when you
that.
gotta push that clutch,
Let me
you're
coming up 8.
getting off the
It's a
freeway.
little concerning.
yeah.
But honestly,
Hill.
it's first that's the hardest for me. Right? You're like,
Oh, yeah.
the first. I don't know.
Yeah. Because,
You said you have to leave at 5 till. I have a closing thing that I'll do after your thing then.
Oh.
So that you go now and then at 5
Okay.
till I'll take you back over.
Sorry, I
To
should
wrap
have
up.